Nina always liked taking the scenic routes home, not because she enjoyed the extra steps, but because her route wound through the older, slightly forgotten part of town. Nature's quiet strength touched her here. One crisp autumn afternoon, as golden leaves danced on the breeze, something caught Nina's eye. Tucked away in a small, triangular patch of land where a long-demolished building once stood, was a single willow tree. Unlike the other trees in town, vibrant with autumnal hues, this willow looked weary. Its slender branches drooped more than usual, its leaves were a faded yellow-green, and the ground around its trunk was dry and cracked, devoid of the usual weeds or wildflowers. Nina felt a pang of sympathy. It stood there, solitary and seemingly forgotten, a silent sentinel in a landscape of human activity. She walked closer, her backpack sliding off her shoulder. The bark felt rough and unusually dry to the touch. The soil looked parched and the tree thirsty. Nina murmured, "Thirsty?" while touching the tree. A thought sparked in her mind. This tree needed help. Nina researched and found it. Weeping willow. Sun, soil, water. It needs more moisture. Willows neglected, succumb to disease. Nina felt responsible. Nina realized that the town's ecosystem is in trouble. She decided to take bottles of water to the tree. The water finished. Nina needed a plan. Nina sought advice from her elderly neighbor, who was a gardener. Mr. Henderson, silent yet wise, listens to Nina's tale of a lone willow. A neglected willow, you say? Young plants are thirsty, and with dry soil are hopeless. Still, there is hope, and it needs care now. Always keep an eye out for any signs of sickness. Water, loosen the soil gently, and watch for signs of distress. He lent Nina tools to help her with gardening. She walked along the street with the can bumping her leg. She watered the thirsty tree, feeling a bit foolish. Days turned into weeks. Autumn deepened, and the other trees blazed in glory before shedding their leaves. The willow, though still not vibrant, seemed to have a slightly healthier hue. Its branches didn't droop quite as much. Nina felt a small surge of hope. Kids laughed and played happily near the willow tree. While the kids played, Nina looked on. Shy Nina then decided to speak up, teaching kids respect for the living tree. Listeners' playfulness fades into understanding. Others dismiss it as just a tree. Nina remembered her own initial feeling of connection to the willow. "It's more than just a tree," she'd reply, her voice gaining strength. "It provides shade, it helps clean the air, and it's a home for birds and insects. It's important." The biggest test came with the first major storm of late autumn. Gale-force winds howled through the town, and heavy rain lashed down. Nina worried about the fragile-looking willow, exposed in its small patch. The next morning, she rushed to check on it, her heart pounding. To her relief, the willow was still standing. However, the ground around it was waterlogged, and a few smaller branches had snapped off. Nina carefully cleared the debris, her concern for the tree deepening. She realized that simply watering wasn't enough. She needed to ensure the soil could drain properly. Remembering Mr. Henderson's words about compacted soil, Nina spent the next few afternoons gently aerating the ground around the tree with the hand trowel, creating small channels for the water to drain. It was painstaking work, her fingers aching, but she persisted. As winter approached, Nina continued her care, though the watering became less frequent. She wrapped a protective burlap around the lower part of the trunk to shield it from the harsh winds and potential frost damage, a tip she'd gleaned from another gardening book. Spring arrived in a burst of color. The other trees in town unfurled their new leaves in vibrant greens. Nina held her breath as she approached the willow. Slowly, tentatively, tiny new leaves began to emerge along its delicate branches, a fresh, pale green against the older, slightly weathered ones. It was a sign of life, a testament to her persistent efforts. As the weeks passed, the willow flourished. Its branches, once drooping with neglect, now swayed gently in the breeze, adorned with a healthy canopy of green. Birds began to perch on its branches, their cheerful chirping a welcome sound. Nina even spotted a small nest tucked amongst the leaves. One sunny afternoon, as Nina sat beneath the shade of the now thriving willow, sketching in her notebook, she was approached by a few of the children who had initially been dismissive. "Hey, Nina," one of them said, kicking at a loose pebble. "Your tree looks really good." Nina smiled. "It does, doesn't it?" Another child pointed to a robin hopping on a low branch. "Birds are living in it now." "Yes," Nina replied. "It's becoming a home again." One of the children, a boy named Leo who had once tried to carve his initials into the bark, looked at the tree with newfound respect. "We didn't think it would make a difference, just one tree." Nina closed her sketchbook. "But it did. Every living thing matters, and sometimes all it takes is one person to care enough to make a difference." Mr. Henderson, passing by on his afternoon stroll, stopped to admire the willow. He nodded approvingly at Nina. "You've done well, young lady. You've given this old tree a new lease on life." Nina felt a warmth spread through her chest, a feeling of quiet satisfaction. She hadn't sought praise, but seeing the once lonely willow now vibrant and full of life was its own reward. She had learned that even the smallest act of care, directed towards a seemingly insignificant part of the world, could have a profound impact. The whispering willow, now rustling its healthy leaves in the breeze, was a living testament to that truth. Here are valuable lessons to learn and share with others. Every part of nature, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, deserves our care and respect. The lonely willow, initially overlooked, became a thriving part of the local ecosystem with Nina's help. Individual actions can make a significant difference. Nina's decision to take responsibility for the neglected tree, despite the initial lack of support or understanding from others, led to a positive change. Persistence and dedication are key to nurturing growth. Nina faced challenges like finding water, protecting the tree, and aerating the soil, but her consistent efforts ultimately paid off. Education and seeking advice can empower us to act effectively. Nina's research and consultation with Mr. Henderson provided her with the knowledge and tools she needed to help the willow. Caring for nature can have unexpected positive consequences. The flourishing willow became a habitat for birds, adding to the biodiversity of the small urban space. It's time for use to be responsible and act if we are not doing so already. Think about a small part of nature in your community that might need a little extra care. It could be a struggling plant, a patch of litter, or a neglected green space. Just like Nina and the whispering willow, your actions, no matter how small they seem, can make a real difference. Be observant. Take a closer look at the nature around you. Are there any plants or animals that seem to be struggling? Research so you can learn a little bit about what they need to thrive. Act or put things in motion to show you care. Even a small act of kindness, like watering a dry plant or picking up litter, can have a positive impact. Share what you know with others like I suggested before. Tell your friends and family about what you're doing. You might inspire them to take action too. Remember, just like Nina, you have the power to be a force for good in the world around you. Let's all do our part to care for our planet, one small act at a time. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed Nina's story and learned about the importance of caring for nature. Leave a comment below sharing a small act of kindness you've done for the environment or plan to do. Remember to subscribe to the channel to have access to the playlist Adventures of Nina for more stories about making a positive impact on the world around us. We can all be heroes for our planet. Thank you for watching.